Many games stick out to me in my life. I remember the ones from my childhood, but one that stuck with me forever was Sonic Mega Collection Plus. It was a game collection of old Sonic the Hedgehog games, plus some other SEGA games like Comic Zone or The Ooze, both which are really good games. Specifically, it was an updated version of the GameCube release Sonic Mega Collection, but it shaped my childhood a lot, and it was actually one of the earliest PS2 games I ever played. And it was what introduced me to the concept of the past and nostalgia. Unlike other games, however, this one particular game remained within my consciousness for years, and once I got myself onto the net and reconnected with what made my gaming childhood, that I learned I wasn't the only person who loved this game. Actually, it made many people's childhoods, and it has perpetually stuck out like a sore yet majestic thumb along the library of Sonic game collections. This game collection had an impact on people, and today that's what I want to explore. Today on CRT Dreams, I want to explore the impact of Sonic Mega Collection and how it became remembered, and to explore why this became a game collection that's remembered so nostalgically. Let's go. From a personal standpoint, Sonic Mega Collection was what sparked my interest in old Sonic games. I had seen snippets of games like Sonic Heroes and Shadow the Hedgehog before, thanks to my siblings playing on an old Xbox, and getting my hands on Sonic Mega Collection Plus on the PS2 was what sparked my love for the series in general. Thanks to that game, I learned of the past of the Blue Blur, and I also became interested in older games in the series. It became a game that I look back on as nostalgia, which is ironic, as it contains games that are nostalgically looked back on. However, I want to explore the kind of impact that the game left on the world, people, and then we can decipher why this game collection, in particular, became nostalgia itself. Starting off, I wanted to get some definitive information on the popularity or activity of the game on the net, so Google Trends was my first idea. Google Trends is a useful little thing, as it can determine interest in a search term or property from 2004 to the present day, as well as determine where exactly a term is popular. In this case, our term is Sonic Mega Collection. Inputting that term into Google Trends and adjusting the trends to consider the term worldwide, I found that despite the game being released in 2002, 3 years later in 2005, the game would receive a significant spike in terms of search traffic. This is interesting and intriguing to me, as another game collection, Sonic Gems Collection, was released within that year. It's possible that from this, the release of Sonic Gems Collection brought more attention to the previous compilation of games, and thus increased its relevancy. This is made even more intriguing as games from Sonic Gems Collection, such as Sonic CD, were originally meant for Sonic Mega Collection, although that last point is mostly just speculation on my end. Taking a look at the other Google Trends statistics from the search term, I found that the game had a significantly large impact across the world. The United Kingdom, the USA, Brazil, Canada, and more. This proves and provides a simple enough basis for why the game seems to be remembered so much. Widespread exposure of a game compilation that creates new fans and brings back older ones in countries that remember the Sonic IP. But there must be more to it. With the advent of the internet, it's proved to be a major player in increasing the popularity and awareness of media. What other reasons could there be? Moving on from this, with the data from Google Trends, I noticed that the game seemed to have a decline in searching over time. While this is generally natural for older games, what struck me as a bit odd was how the game seemed to still have a presence of sorts. The interest never completely flatlined, and this is evidence that the game still has some lasting impact. Doing a direct search, I attempted to dig for some news articles on Sonic Mega Collection, and with a bit of digging, I was able to find a few. It's with these articles, such as this one in particular, that brought up an interesting point. Sonic was coming to a Nintendo console. While this may not seem particularly striking in, today's gaming culture, back then this was a major revelation. Sega and Nintendo were once at each other's throats in the 90s, but a multitude of different things caused both to become less wary of the other. Sega stopped producing consoles entirely, and Nintendo's popularity would become challenged by Sony's PlayStation brand. Sonic on a Nintendo console had become a reality, so as a result, any release of a Sonic game on a Nintendo platform immediately directed attention to said games. One of which was Sonic Mega Collection. Another thing to consider is the continued accessibility of the game itself. The game wouldn't stay as a GameCube exclusive for long, and would soon come to the PlayStation 2 and Microsoft Xbox, both consoles in which I encountered the game on as a child in different ways, although the PS2 version is what I got to experience myself. With the game having become a multi-platform release, this would be a factor in enhancing just how common the game would ultimately become. And considering how big the audiences for each platform were, and also take into account the PC part of the game that was also released, this allowed the game to have a much larger reach than, say, I don't know, Sonic Jam on the Saturn. One other interesting point to bring up is how it came out at a very specific time in the 6th generation of gaming, with emulation on the rise, and with a new generation of players in this gaming generation. This was their way of getting into Sonic as a whole. And for those who were interested in emulation, this was a great way for them to get into it, even if they didn't have the hardware to emulate a Mega Drive/Genesis. For new players, this was their way of getting into Sonic, and this created an entirely new generation of Sonic the Hedgehog fans. Ultimately, with having analysed the aspects that made it as widespread and potentially popular as it is, I want to focus on one more thing. One that I have not mentioned until now. Why did this game collection become nostalgia in of itself? Answering how this game collection became nostalgia itself is relatively easy compared to searching for the statistics and data on how widespread it became. Why? Because I personally know how it became that way, at least for me, and my sentiments seem to echo others. Booting up Sonic Mega Collection, or in my case, Sonic Mega Collection Plus, because this is the one that I grew up with, you agreed with the familiar SEGA logo, and then the title screen. As a kid, I would spend many times just listening to that theme of the screen over and over and over and over how jolly, happy it sounded. Getting past the title screen, you're given a bunch of options, although any kid would most likely choose the games section, because that's the whole point of playing the game collection, to play the games. Sometimes the manuals or the history area. It's the music and the presentation, and in some of my digging, is why people remember this game collection so much. I'll present my experience, my perspective. In the game selection area, a sad, somber tune plays, amplifying the feeling of this is a vault of SEGA's finest, and you have the liberty and honour to come and play in it. Everything here is preserved, untouched, the same from a decade prior, emulation barely having a dent on the quality of the games themselves. What will you play? That choice is in your hands. The music gives off the sense, the feeling of the past, of a time when Sega ruled gaming with their consoles and their shining star, Sonic, ruling the gaming world too. But now, it's nothing but a collection of games on what will be considered the new console in the scene. In the history area, the same somber tune plays, but the feeling of this game being a vault for old Sonic material and games amplifies. If you head over to the manuals area, a different tune plays. As you look through the manuals of a different time, a different age, you get the feeling that you're looking at something that was once very important. Manuals were once the godsend of gaming, especially with learning how to control them back then, in an age where the internet was not as prolific. To me, I can imagine others as well, with Sonic Mega Collection having been released in 2002 and with the expanded version Sonic Mega Collection Plus released in 2004, which I played as a child. It feels like both versions of these games are period pieces. What do I mean? This was a more experimental time for the Sonic franchise, and games that had caused controversy like Shadow the Hedgehog and Sonic 06 had not been released yet. It was a very different time in the history of the franchise, yet The series had come out of not being on home consoles anymore, and the platform on which they originated on was long forgotten. Sonic was not as popular as it used to be, but it was experimenting in a new age of gaming. To me, it almost feels like this is Sega's cry for wanting to go back to the days of where they were ruling gaming, where their mascot dominated gaming. A time when Sega's blunders simply did not exist and did not potentially contribute to the demise of their home console business. But that's just speculation on my end. A while ago, I had the chance to ask some people on why this collection of games is so remembered. Allow me to present you all with some of the responses I got. Another interesting thing is that for a game collection, there are quite a few remixes of the tunes and the themes that this game collection has, which is quite interesting, as this is something usually only relegated to actual games, like Sonic the Hedgehog 3 for example. It's a sign that the impact is there, that this game collection was many a childhood memory, and that latter point was why I began to make this video in the first place. On YouTube, there used to be a famous channel for video game music known as BRSTMS3. This channel was sadly terminated last year, but the comments of one of their uploads triggered my passion to create this video. People were just outpouring their memories of their time with the game, and while the comments are since lost in the void of deleted YouTube uploads, their impact is known, and thus, I created this video. People became nostalgic over a game collection, which was pure nostalgia in of itself. There's something so utterly magical about that to me, something so charming. Gaming can be more than just an entertainment medium, when people are literally taken back into the past. In a harsh world, the only choice sometimes is to go backwards. I want to leave you all with one final quote from a YouTube commenter on an upload of the Sonic Mega Collection track, History. Remember your childhood? Yeah, me too. But enjoy today because it will soon be history and you would want the simple things back. We are all crushed by the absolute fact that things can never be how they used to be.